Hello, hello, hello. This is Adriane, and this is The Ageless Traveler. I've been thinking about an experience I had only a few weeks ago through European Waterways. I was on a beautiful barge called the Finesse. And just the word finesse is so accurate for this boat. And it was going along the Burgundy Canal. And it was my first immersive journey. I'm going to call this an adventure into slow travel through wine country. Beautiful places, some of which I had been to before. And yet I experienced them in a completely different way. So I'm so pleased to have the founder and the managing director of European Waterways with me today. His name is Derek Banks. And he said something very intriguing. You know, Derek, we were just talking about the show, and I told you how I felt, that I felt more patient in life, that I loved being in the moment on the barge. And you said, well, we haven't changed the formula in years. So introduce yourself, Derek, and tell us, what's the formula? Because it works.
It's a secret.
It's a secret formula, okay.
Secret formula. Yeah, so I've been doing this since time immemorial. I started the company in 1976. I've been boating for a long time already before that. I'm a boating guy, really, basically. The formula, I mean, commercially, the formula is put the boat on water, go through locks, go slow travel, where if you speed up to a brisk walk, you would overtake the boat. So cruise a little bit every day, drop in an interesting, intimate excursion experience every day. We have minibuses that go along with every boat and feed you well, nice wines as well, but try through a slow sort of immersion into culture and the cuisine, the wine. We try and explain the cuisine, little snippets about the cheeses. You know, there are several hundred cheeses in France, every one with a story. I'm a former skipper. I'm still a skipper. I have skippered a boat this year, so I'm still a skipper. But originally with the first hotel barge, that was me that was driving it. And so I've always regarded the barge, the hotel barge, as being the stage. And we, the crew, are the actors, and the passengers are the audience, in a way. And we have our routine, which becomes evolved as time goes on and as people's different characters come on as well, to really tune into each, because we're only dealing with, I think you had 5 crew?
Yeah, we had 8 people, and that included the 2 of us and 5 crew members.
And so that's a relatively high crew ratio to the number of people, but it allows us to get to know you, get to know whether you want your gin and tonic stirred clockwise or anti-clockwise. And so attention to detail. The whole formula of putting people on a boat and cruising for a week slowly. We're only doing 50, 70 miles in a week. You can do that in an hour in a car. And discovering along the way, so that people, when they leave, they go away with a feeling of having got to know something which invariably they haven't seen before. And it's not just the thing they're seeing, it's the way they see it, that, and the way they're looked after as well.
Yes, I think that the way they see and the way they are looked after, I was explaining to Derek that we just did an article on European Waterways. And for those of you who subscribe to our newsletter, you get the link to that. For everybody else, it'll be all over social media. And of course, it's be on our website. And what you don't know, Derek, is when I was describing the staff, I had not spoken to you yet. I said, now I want to tell you about the cast. Because it was exactly what you said a moment ago.
Really?
It's like you had 5 characters: a captain, your own personal tour guide, your own personal hostess. In this case, it was a hostess. And of course, somebody that's really so important, the Michelin-style chef. I mean, he is our private chef. So you've got these cast of characters and you get to know them, but they get to know you. So I will say this, my husband is diabetic, and the most magnificent sugar-free desserts came out of that observation kitchen, because you could see what he was doing. I don't eat meat. Everybody else did. Wow. They were jealous of me because I got the best fish.
Retention.
Unbelievable. So that's a question now of training. So let's go back to European Waterways. You get very special people to be in what I'm going to call your cast of characters, the staff. What do you expect of them? Because I haven't seen this, even in five-star hotels.
What do we expect of them? We expect loyalty. We get it. We've got some crew that have been with us over 10 years. And it's a bit of an addictive job. I've done it for 5 decades. But there are people that have made careers out of it who've turned up for a season. I know people that started as a deckhand, gone on to be a tour guide, gone on to be a skipper, and met a hostess who has gone on to be a tour guide, who's gone on to be a chef, got married, all the while doing the barging thing in the season, somehow or other juggling their own lives as well, and even gone off then and built boats, hotel barges, and had their own boats. I mean, it's become a career for several people, and we've worked with them from the very beginning, which is interesting to see. I lost track of how many children actually European Waterways had come its way. I honestly lost track in the early 90s because we went over 100 at that point. As the fleet expanded, there were obviously more people and more crew and more relationships and what have you. But it's extraordinary how there's a sort of romance about it, I suppose.
There is a great romance about it. And just to explain to everybody, because this crew is passionate and they are family to each other, you feel it right away. And because they get to know you, and it's not just they get to know you because it's their job, you do get this feeling that they want to know who you are. So they do the right thing. So we are not the easiest couple. My husband also doesn't drink, and this is a wine trip, right? Well, when you get on that barge, you're greeted with champagne. You're greeted with hors d'oeuvres. You're greeted with the cheeses that you mentioned, Derek. But then they learned beforehand. And he was greeted with the most wonderful mocktails for 7 days in a row. And so you can have your own issues, your own restrictions, and this can be a perfectly wonderful experience. But the reason it happens is because of those people. That's the reason. And the reason those people are there is because of you and the way you select.
We know that the crew are invaluable to us. 5 to 8 is high enough to provide everything that people need, I think.
Well, it's also high-end luxury because it's like a floating 5-star, maybe 5+ hotel. I want to explain to folks, which you'll see in the pictures in the various articles. Don't think of this as a barge. Some people think of a barge as, hauling materials from one place to another. This is not a tugboat. This is a 5-star floating hotel with 8 fantastic cabins, huge. You should know, Derek, we were in the midst of a 2.5-month tour, different climate, and the luggage disappeared in the room. Yeah. We were so worried that the luggage was not going to, no problem. Ensuite baths, beautiful. Now, do you refurbish that all the time? Because you've got white furniture in there, so do I at home.
It's ongoing. We haven't got white in all the boats. But definitely the refurbishment program is. I mean, we're looking at one of the barges this winter's got to have 6 new bathrooms in it. They are probably they were very professionally built 15 years ago or something like that, but they've done their time. So we will replace the bathrooms, and that means going right back to the bare steel and building them back up. I mean, it's not just replacing carpets and furnishing. There's refurbishment going on every winter and during the season.
So the reason this is a barge is it's going through a canal. But if you go to EuropeanWaterways.com and you'll see the URL in our show notes, you'll see what those barges look like. You're going to be surprised. You're going to want to redo your living room.
It's definitely an anti-sell word, a barge. I mean, I think, when was it, in 1980 something, one of the big wholesalers in the States, who's no longer, they were called Floating Through Europe at the time. This is a long time ago. They had an office in Madison Avenue, New York, and we worked with them for a couple of years. They joined up with some other tour operators, and they all sat in a room and said, look, we've got this product called barging, but it's terrible as a name. What can we call these things? Anyway, they had a nice time in the hotel room or wherever they were, but they never came up with a better word. A hotel barge, we call them. It still doesn't, if you say a barge called finesse, it sounds all better. It starts to get there.
Well, when we come back, we want to talk about what my listeners are so interested in, is that the itineraries, because you do see a lot. You're as you said, you're not going many miles, right? You're walking if you want. You're bicycling if you want. And you can see some of the things that you would like to see that are along the way, and the tour director will tell you or take you. And you have a lot of set stops. Now, in this particular itinerary, a lot of those stops had to do with wine. So don't be alarmed when I say my husband doesn't drink. He's a wine aficionado. He was a collector for many, many, many years. And so I would say he knew more by sniffing the wines than we all knew by tasting them.
Sure.
But it was a great experience for people who do love wine and for people who don't. We'll be right back. Did you know that 3,000 people receive the Ageless Traveler newsletter every single Tuesday, and it's free of charge? Well, you simply subscribe on our website, agelesstraveler.com, when you see the pop-up, or take a look at the resource section that's in the show notes accompanying this episode. You'll also see how directly you can subscribe to our newsletter. Now, what will you find in there? Well, every single week, you will get news you can use about travel, cultural experiences you can enjoy, suggestions for luxury travel for less, and yes, I answer your questions. And you can even send me those questions by text or voicemail, and you'll see just how to do it when you receive your Travel Tuesday newsletter. Plenty of discounts, plenty of inspiration, so that you never stop traveling. That's agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at the pop-up, subscribe, or take a look at our resource list accompanying this and every episode, so that you get a direct link to Travel Tuesday. And now we're back. And we're back here with Derek Banks. And as you know by now, he is the managing director and founder of European Waterways. Now, European Waterways usually is a 7-day journey along a canal. However, there's several countries in which they float. The itineraries are all different. The boats are different. They even have wonderful names. Ours, the Finesse. We went through Burgundy wine country. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Well, we're in southern Burgundy. You've got Beaune, Côte de Nuit, Côte de Beaune. It's all being produced there. They go out and polish the nameplates of the vineyards on the vineyards in the morning. It's a complete way of life for the vigneron. We try and gently expose you to the wines of the region you're cruising through. And Burgundy itself has got several regions within, or areas within regions.
We've learned the word domains.
Yes. I mean, we've got Chablis in the north and the Burgundy wines in the south, the more traditional ones. And we also serve on board every boat wines from other regions of France. But generally, throughout the company, we serve French wines. Even in Scotland, we take wines up there and serve them. And back to the crew, we try and explain the wines a bit that are served on board. You know, you said just now you can get off and you can walk or you bike. It's I would say it's an active holiday as much as you want to make it. It's also very nice to just sit on the sun deck at the front of the boat usually and just watch the world going past very, very slowly. I've seen heads of industry who are, like you were saying, you're buzzing along and doing all these things and you thought you'd get bored and all of that. I've had people on board who really, arrived in the Learjet and doing it. And you just see them becoming children, really, when they just go through their first lock. They might never have been in a lock in their lives, or they maybe had an idea of what it's all about, but you're so close. You're not on a big riverboat. You're invariably 100 meters or more away from the shore with a hotel barge in the lock. You were on the Canal du Centre in southern Burgundy. You were probably anywhere between 6 feet and 50 feet at most away from the bank, which means which means that you can see that even the displacement of the boat as it goes along, it pulls down the nenufars and water lilies and stuff. You just realize how big the boats are in the environment that they're in, what skill it takes to maneuver them. I mean, to be a barge pilot, you have to have a very high level of concentration, to get it around the corner and under the bridge and into the lock without damaging either the lock or the boat or the passengers.
You're absolutely right. There were 8 of us. We did not know each other. There were 2 couples that did know each other and 2 couples that didn't know anybody. And we were all very similar, except for Stuart. You begin to imagine that he's always the odd man out on everything. And we all walked. Now, we did not bike, but we could have. And we all loved walking. But Stuart did his cryptic puzzles on the beautiful, we called it the porch, and watched the world go by. And so depending on who you are, how much you like to chill out, how much you like to sit and read and let the world go by and observe, versus how active you want to be. And then of the walkers, there were several of us that were more active than others and went in to see a church randomly or asked the tour director what to see. We were directed to monasteries because we're faster walkers. I want everyone to know it's really their own trip. And you learn a lot about yourself when you can do that, when you have the safety and the care. It lets you think, what do I really want to do? Who am I? It's very empowering. Now, in your case, the planned trips, the falconry at 15th and 13th century castles, the amount of time the vintners took with us. We had one tasting that lasted 3 hours. It was supposed to last 1 hour. But it's got to be your relationship with these people.
We've built up the relationships, the commercial relationships with the vineyards over several decades now. So, they're used to seeing us. We don't always stick to exactly what's written down. If someone is specifically interested, in Gothic architecture or something different, we'll try and find it and show it to them. I mean, I know as part of the performance that's put on that it's a history lesson as well. I mean, the canals themselves were started in the 17th century in France on 2 of the oldest canals built in Europe, which started in about 1650. There's a lot of stonework still from that era.
You might see castles. I mean, you see cattle, you see flowers, you see cottages, you see the beautiful little cottages of the people that work on the canals. They're there. You see private canal boats. It's a beautiful way of just visually seeing the world.
There are less lock keepers than there were, say, 30 years ago, just because the way things have changed and some of the locks have become automatic and things. But originally the locks were given to people in social need, and they were given accommodation, told to wind open the gates and everything and the sluices, and they were given 7 fruit trees and a bit of land that they could grow their vegetables on. And there's still a bit of that left over now with people selling produce along the way in the locks, and that's a nice little touch we see.
And I am certainly, because I am a sightseer, a traditional sightseer, like to see cathedrals and museums. And there was wonderful castles to see. There was the falconry presentation was wonderful. But I really have to say that in one of the wineries, we had lunch, and it was served to us in a huge, huge wine barrel. The wine barrel doors actually opened up. It was this huge wine barrel, which we thought was just an artifact or a piece of sculpture. But no, it was a room. And in the room were chandeliers, beautiful china, and they served us this magnificent meal. So you can't find this on your own. And that's one of the draws for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be unique. Now, that was unique. Now, I want to go to Scotland. You mentioned Scotland. You said you brought the wines up to Scotland as well. What is the itinerary or some of the itineraries in Scotland?
So we've got 2 vessels up there. We've got Scottish Highlander, which is an 8-passenger boat, and we've got Spirit of Scotland, which takes 12. Both are available for charter or individual cabins. And we go effectively from Inverness down to Fort William. So we're going through the Great Glen. There are 4 locks up there. The most famous is Loch Ness. We start off in the northernmost part of the cruise in Inverness in the Great Glen. We go through Loch Dock 4, then Loch Ness, Loch Oich, and then Loch Lochy. And the locks or lakes are connected by a canal built by an English engineer called Thomas Telford in about 1840 or so. It's right in the top of Scotland. It's right up in the Highlands. You can see the highest mountain in Great Britain, Ben Nevis, which is right there. It's like five miles away from the canal. But it was originally built to take sailing boats. The bit around the top of Scotland is extremely dangerous from a navigation point of view. So this allowed a bit of a rest and a shortcut. In a boat, you can push on and you can do it in about 20 hours, 25 hours or so. We start on a Sunday, go through to a Saturday, and like on all the departures, and we take our time over it. It's scenery up there, it's castles, it's whiskey. We go to Dalwhinnie Distillery. It's Scottish cheeses and beautiful Scottish food. You get 4 weathers, 4 climate changes in every day. I skippered up there for a couple of seasons. And in fact, got married the second time up there on one of the boats. I had a reception and everything. So Scotland holds a special place. So
Now, and again, there's a different wine itinerary in France as well. And so there are a variety. And I think it's important that when you book on European Waterways, take a look at all the itineraries. It's extraordinary. And that's, I think, why people get addicted to coming more than once. This, to me, if you can do it, could become a family yearly or every other year tradition. A lot of people buy second homes. And they think, oh, this is going to be a family tradition. Everybody's going to come and they're going to go to the second home for Christmas or Thanksgiving. And they do for about 2 years. By the 3rd year, they're out of there.
Absolutely.
But this could be. And when we come back, we'll talk about grandparents and the boat charters, as well as going as an individual or a couple. Don't you guys go anywhere. If you've ever seen my picture on social media, you know that I always wear a hat when I travel. I know what the sun can do to your skin, from causing wrinkles to skin cancer, and I don't want any of it. I search for the very best hats at the very best price, and I offer them to you on the Ageless Traveler website at agelesstraveler.com/products-services. You can check out my traveling hat and other of the must-have travel goodies like Tripped, the only packing system I ever use, and get 20% discount when you buy for the first time. While you're on the website, check out all of the discounts. My favorite, Cruiseit, the lowest price for thousands of cruises. Now, you can just look at the resource section right here on the show notes, and you will find the URL for our products and services page. That's agelesstraveler.com/products-services. It's written on every resource list for every one of our shows. Never stop traveling. Now I'm speaking here with Derek Banks, who's the managing director and founder of European Waterways. A lot of the folks listening want family vacations, or grandmother or grandfather have come to a time in their life when they can host instead of be hosted and bring the family together. And they're looking for a place not like certain hotels that take your phone away to say, oh, we're going to be eco-friendly and let you bond. This is a place where you voluntarily put your phone away. That's different. It takes a day, maybe a half a day, actually, in our case. But you change there and you bond. We even bonded with strangers. So let's hear a little bit about the charter aspects of this, the family and relationship aspects.
So all of the boats are available for whole boat charter or, as you said, on a hotel basis, an individual cabin. What determines it is really first come, first served. And we find that the charter market tends to organize themselves, let's say, a year and a half in advance. And as soon as they show interest, we'll block a week and they go away and have a chat with the family. It isn't just families, it's also reunions. And I mean, I'm part of a college group who, we were together 50 years ago, and we meet up every year in a different place. With families, we do get all ages. We know that as crew, we know we've got to keep the kids happy. Keep the kids happy if they're young kids. We can do that on all of the itineraries. You can't expose to a 7-year-old wine tastings and cheese descriptions and all of that. That's where the chef comes in and helps. And the younger crew members invariably, in inverted commas, adopt the kids and look after them. Not as nannies, but just in terms of friends, pals during the week. That's what I see happening. We can adapt charters. We do have wine buff type charters where Premier and Grand Cru wines and wines bought directly from the vineyard. We can have specialist itineraries. Let's say you've got a family or a group of friends who are all antique buffs and they want to go on the River Thames and they want to see all the antique shops between Hampton Court near London and at Oxford. We take them to loads of antique shops and garden cruises as well. Even up in Scotland, we've done stately home garden cruises and stuff.
So there are wonderful theme possibilities. I will say this. I'm a balloonist, and I did notice that particularly in France, over the vineyards, you offer that. I do love ballooning, and it was really quite reasonably priced, I must say, because I balloon in a lot of places in the world, and that was available. So if you simply want to add something, that's possible. But I did, in my time, go to Brighton and get myself a dealer, and I went from store to store, and I did exactly what you did. That was 1980, when the pound and the dollar were on par. And it was one of the best investments I ever made.
When I was a teenager, I had 2 jobs. One was in a boatyard in the holidays, and the other was going around with my Uncle Bill from Berkeley, California. And Uncle Bill used to fill up a container load of English secondhand furniture and bric-a-brac and ship it out to California. And I absolutely adore doing that and collecting all that.
Now, I do want to talk about girlfriend trips, because you did mention a variety of different things. And when we do our research, this is one of the biggest new markets, and that is the 60-plus woman who loves to travel. And we discovered that about 30 to 40% of single women travelers are married. Yes, they do it not because they don't have a companion, but because their husbands no longer want to travel the way they do. And so are you beginning to see this in European waterways?
It's probably the largest growing demographic, does one call it, where single ladies, I hadn't realized the married or non-married aspect, but that sort of makes sense. I get that. And I mean, traditionally, because we're small capacity, we have a fairly heavy single supplement, which is what single people hate. It comes and goes a bit, that. And
friends could stay together.
Yes, ladies traveling together, why not? All of the beds in the whole fleet pretty much are twin or double beds. We get lots of singles.
I have to add that there's another layer of this for those foodies out there. In at least at Finesse, and you'll tell me if that's true of all the barges, it was an open kitchen. We could see the chef baking bread from scratch. We could see grilling. We could see the way the sauces were being made. And if we wanted to, we could learn how to do it. So in addition to any other theme, we'll say, in this case, it was wine. It's a culinary tour, if you want to make it that. And you mentioned Scottish food. Now, that would be very interesting to me, to see what's being prepared, how it's being prepared. It's a special experience. Is there always an open kitchen? Do all of the different barges you have that?
We have, I think we've got 3 vessels that are open kitchen, which is, I mean, there are 17 boats in the group, so it's not a large amount. And that's mainly because of the way the boats have been designed and storage and access to the eating area. But we do culinary cruises where food preparation, going to the market with, I don't know if you went to the market.
We did. We went to the market and we picked out, particularly because I'm a fish eater. We particularly did that, yes.
Okay. Well, that's a nice thing to do. Go along with the chef and browse the market. I mean, I remember going to Italy and going to the fish market in Chioggia. We have a boat, which is a 20-passenger boat. It's the biggest boat in the fleet that operates from Venice. And in Chioggia, which is in the southwestern part of the Venice Lagoon, fish market there with a load of seafood. I mean, I love seafood, and I have never seen such a variety of specific almost to the lagoon, crayfish and lobsterettes, little ones that grow and live there, all for sale.
Just made up a word, a lobsterette. If you get a lobster and it's too small, just say, "Excuse me, is this a lobsterette?"
There you go.
Now, how many itineraries do you have altogether, and in how many countries?
Well, we go into 9 countries. We have 7 vessels. The main core is Burgundy, and then south of France, Canal de Midi, cracking itinerary. It's what we call a contour canal down there, where instead of going in a straight line, you follow the hills around the outside. It's a way of saving water. Instead of climbing a hill and going down the other side, which uses water, you follow the contours, and then you don't use so much water. And this was designed by a guy, Pierre-Paul Riquet, in 1630. He worked out that you could get from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic without using, in a fairly arid area, without using too much water. So we have 3 boats down there, and Alsace in Lorraine, yeah. And that's a beautiful itinerary. We go up a lift there, which has taken the place of 14 locks. It's the inclined lock of Arsvillers, which goes up, I think it's 120 feet in about 2 minutes. Takes a whole boat in a lock full of water sideways up the side of a hill, which I discovered when I bought Anne Jody, my first boat, in 1982. I had a 1935 canal book map book with me, and I came through a tunnel which was on the book, and then I had 14 locks in front of me, and I suddenly realized that I was going away from those 14 locks, but my book said nothing about this. And I'd come from Amsterdam, and I said to this little chap whose job was to sit in a white hut, but the entrance to the tunnel, controlling the traffic. We didn't have traffic lights in those days. We just had a little chap in his hut, and I said, "Strasbourg, monsieur," and he said, "Tout droit, straight on, straight on." And I thought, well, that's very strange, because there's nothing in my book about straight on. And I got the impression I was going to drive the barge around this mountain, the side of it, and then go off the edge of a cliff. It was so impressive. It was like pine trees, and came around the corner and parked. And I still didn't realize that I had in front of me one of these inclined planes, takes the whole barge sideways. I parked the boat up, walked up to it, and I saw this amazing structure. And I thought, I've got to go in that. And I said to another chap in a little white hut, I said, "Can I have a look around inside the building to see how this thing works?" And he said, "Well, only if you're part of a guided tour, and you're going to have to pay 2 francs. I said, "Well, I'm not part of a guided tour. I'm in that boat over there, and I haven't actually got any money on me." And he said, "Well, I'm sorry, then you can't come inside, but you can take your boat down the slope that takes the place of the 14 locks you can see on the other side of the valley." So that was very impressive. And every route has got something
unique.
Like that. We've got a new boat in Champagne, Key Royale, and northern Burgundy, Chablis. The beautiful Canal de Nivernais is one of the 4 canals that go vertically from Paris and the Seine down to the Rhone. Scotland, 2 boats up there in the Highlands. Ireland, we've got the Shannon Princess on the River Shannon. That's a 10-passenger boat. Beautiful, beautiful country. Rains a lot, but beautiful. And Italy, where we have La Bella Vita.
Beautiful. So I want everyone to understand here that one of the best things you could do, because it happened to me, and I'm going to close with this, is to barge to a place you've already been. And that's fine, because I know we all want to see new things, but I guarantee you that you will see something in a new way. Because we had driven, and we had taken almost the same route through Burgundy wine country. We also went to Dijon more than once, and this particular route in the finesse ends in Dijon. And we enjoyed it. But this time, we really saw it. So I'm going to end where I began. I have changed as a tourist. And I've been to 131 countries. I've been a tourist for, over 65 years now. When I went to Dijon the first time, I was very busy going to Notre Dame de Dijon, going to the art museum, going to the botanic garden. I mean, there was no end. I had to see it. This time, not just because I had been there before, but because I had just come off this barging experience, I was very present to what I really wanted to see, not what I thought I had to see, but what I really wanted to see. And one of them was a beautiful house, where I could go to the second floor. I usually would have just given myself time to go to the first floor because I had to get somewhere else. But no, I really concentrated. And it was a different experience. And from there, another month or two of travel, I brought that with me. And I didn't expect that of myself. And this is, as you say, about seeing people come in a Learjet and they're very, stressed, and they've got big jobs, and they're not the ones to sit on a beach. They don't know what to do with themselves if they're sitting on a beach. This changes you.
I mean, the reason I started it was I'd worked in Greece the year before, and I'd seen this sailing for a year with one of what they call the flotilla cruises, one of the first flotilla cruises. And I saw this sort of chaotic, I mean, it's sailing. I still sail a lot, and I saw this sort of a lot going on, very quick, a lot of things happening, but people not really seeing what the ports they were going to. They're just sailing between place and place and place. The whole business about the people changing and how they were, I didn't realize it right in the beginning. It was something that evolved, and I realized it gradually, and it just became a thing to look out for. Certainly when I was skippering, I could see people when they arrived, and then we'd always reckon that by Wednesday, if they hadn't completely unwound by Wednesday, and you could see with the men, you'll see a stubble appear on their chest. The clothes would get a bit more wrinkled, and it's okay, they're beginning to relax. And we'd always try, and if I mean, it's not an obvious thing to get on a boat with other people that you've never met before, but you're sharing experiences every day. You're sharing your knowledge.
You're sharing meals, beautiful meals every day. It's important.
People gel, I would say 98% of the time. I think especially Americans. I mean, 90% of our clients are American. So I don't know whether they were your week.
Yes, absolutely. From Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. We only produce a brochure in English. We get Australians and Brits, and most of our clients are American, and Americans are good travelers,
Yeah. Well, I do want to say that there are buzzwords today like transformative travel, slow food. But this started those things before it was cool, before it had a word. And it works, and it just works. So I thank you so much for being with us. And more, I think that people want this, particularly those who've been to a lot of places, and they're burning out on travel. And they say, well, I've done it. Well, you haven't done it until you've been barging.
I'll go along with that.
So thank you so much. We shall talk again.
Been a pleasure.
And for everybody else, you know what I'm going to say. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. It is free. It is Travel Tuesday. It comes every single week on a Tuesday. There's always something unique. And join our Facebook salon. And most of all, whatever you do, never stop traveling.